If you enjoy the content on this channel, please like and subscribe. It's that time of the year again where the new F1 game is being released. After the latest F1 games took strange diversions, delving into story modes, like the Breaking Point series, and of course even adding supercars, and a lounge mode where you could buy clothing. EA and Codemasters have made somewhat of a concerted effort now to make this one more focused on actual racing Formula 1 cars. F124 has got rid of some of the less popular features and in a refreshing move to improve the more conventional aspects of the F1 game. This means that supercars are no more, F1 World has received only minor alterations, and there's no further addition to the Breaking Point saga. The most hyped change now in F124 is the driver career mode, which is strikingly different to how it has been in previous games. This marks the first significant change to that side of the game since My Team mode was introduced in F1 2020. Driver career has been reworked to such an extent that it is now a deeper career option and distinct from My Team, whereas in previous entries the driver career was really just a slightly scaled back version of My Team. Before you even get onto the track action, you're greeted with a cutscene of your driver and their agent in Monaco signing their first contract. It's the first taste of a new contract negotiation system which has been improved in more than just a presentation. As a driver, you start off with an overall rating, which can go up or down depending on the results. Teams expect improvement, and part of your contract is a target rating you have to reach by the end of it. Look, so far improving your rating is rather easy. Even a raise of 4 overall, which is the game's recommended improvement target, is very achievable as long as you have the reasonable results for the pace of your car. I mean, technically you could get into a position where the team would not want to retain you on contract, but that requires a significant drop in your form, and that's highly unlikely the way the game has been orchestrated. While this lack of challenge may be welcome to some, you don't want to deal with the constant struggle of keeping your place in F1, but in the same breath though, you would like a bit more of a challenge and make it more realistic. There's also now the addition of secret meetings, added in driver career. One downside though is that every contract seems to just last a year, and for example, only 3 races into your career, you'll get approached by another team, with little or no performance to prove your worth. These negotiations, however, do take a long time, and even if you're approached early in the season, you only sign the contract later in the year. In fairness, this drawn-out negotiation period in a way is quite realistic, and this is certainly a step up from previous F1 games. Although it is quite odd that you can't initiate secret meetings with other teams yourself. Look, while talks spanning multiple weeks or months are totally realistic, it isn't always really accurate, as sometimes you could maybe sign a contract early on, only to be approached by a bigger team later in the season, making you question why did you sign so early. You could work on a risk-reward basis, but maybe that will happen in future games. While My Team has had its own presentation changes, with some of the opening cutscenes being redesigned and set in different locations, in reality it plays out almost exactly identical as F123. The other major change that EA and Codemasters have pushed heavily is marketing the physics and car simulation. This compromises a new suspension kinematics system, as well as an updated tyre and aerodynamic models. It all comes together to produce a driving model that is easy to get up to speed with, or so EA and Codemasters say. However, the handling has been panned by big F1 gaming influencers, and the consensus so far is that the cars feel too unnatural and that the physics have been designed for controllers first and foremost, hurting the experience for players using wheel and pedals. It's almost like they've decided to make the game more accessible to more part-time players, whilst real sim racers will find the physics have been almost watered down in favour of control users. In many ways it's more arcade-like. The game will be easy to pick up and play and keep your car pointing in the right direction, and there's less of the nuances than in previous F1 games. Unfortunately, there aren't any new tracks added to this one. It will replicate the 24 tracks on the F1 2024 calendar, and still remains the Portimao track in Portugal. Unfortunately though, Paul Ricard in France is removed. Silverstone, Spa, Jeddah and Lusail have all been updated, with track markings on the outside of Eau Rouge being the most obvious tweak. If you race now as one of the real F1 drivers, whether that be in a regular Grand Prix or in career mode, you will hear them comment on their performance using clips from real radio chatter. There's a good variety in there too, depending on if you performed above or below expectations, or even if you've crashed out. There's some also context-specific ones too. For example, if you get a 1-2 finish with Ferrari, you're met with a radio message from Charles Leclerc specifically mentioning that we achieved a 1-2, so the radio calls have been quite smartly and thoroughly integrated into the different race settings. A new addition now is engine braking to your setup. Then there's also the Challenge Career Mode, which offers a condensed career mode experience and inclusion of in-race objectives, such as either keeping your tyres within a certain temperature window or overtaking a car with a certain number of laps. All of these are fun little tweaks. Look, at the end of the day, the key question about whether to buy F124 or not is really its price tag. Fundamentally, this is just now an add-on to F123. There's no remarkable changes. The only team change is the change of name from Alfa Romeo to now Kick Sauber. The driver lineups even remain the same. And with the addition of no new tracks, and the biggest overhaul being the driver career mode, not to mention handling that is almost gone backwards, F124 really may not be worth the buy unless you want to wait till later on when it's of course advertised at a reduced price. For many though, the enjoyment of the game lives and dies with the handling model, and that's been the source of a lot of frustration amongst many thus far. Although Codemasters is promising further tweaks down the line to make it better. Look, I'd say if you're a controller user and you love driver career mode, then F1 2024 should appeal to you. But it's by no means the best F1 game since EA took over, which of course is still causing huge controversy, as EA has tended to move the focus away from what F1 games were really about, which at the end of the day was driving simulated versions of Formula 1 cars, and making it more into an expansive universe. F1 24 is much more concentrated at least, and EA seem to have taken some criticism on board. But overall, there are minor changes and tweaks, and this game almost seems more of an add-on to F1 23 than a completely new version. F1 24 gets a 7 out of 10.